You have two jobs during the fantasy football playoffs. It's all you have to do. Work the waiver wire and submit your starting lineups, because you can't go hit up Johnny and find out the new running back you're adding to your team when you have an injury to Jonathan Taylor. Really, the waiver wire is your only trade partner at this point. But before we get into anything, I need you to go look at this Christian Watson 48.5 receiving yards mark against the Los Angeles Rams on Underdog. I think Christian Watson will regress a bit from where he's been, but 48.5, that's an easy spot to take the more than. Of course, if you want to check out any of those player props on Underdog, you can find the link in the comment section, find the link in the description. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100, available in damn near every state. Also, drop a like on this video, leave a comment letting me know if you have any questions for this week. And that should be it. Let's go through, let's dive into this. And first thing is, I have a few names that I want to make sure you are not adding. Okay, I know this may waste your time, but I want to make sure that we are getting this correct for the fantasy football playoffs. First guy you should not be adding, Noah Brown. Yes, Noah Brown had a good day. Yes, he comes out with 6 receptions, 49 receiving yards, multiple receiving touchdowns, and the Dallas Cowboys offense that's pretty damn good, and the Dallas Cowboys offense that's still trying to find their wide receiver. Does not matter. Noah Brown's an option that I rostered in Dynasty like 4 years ago that I thought he could turn into something. It's not happening. Don't get excited about Noah Brown. Next guy, Marquise Goodwin. Now, trust me, I'm really hoping Marquise Goodwin has a few good games here. Hook 'em Lawrence. However, even with the Tyler Lockett injury, even with Lockett missing this next week, it's going to be almost impossible to project him to have any kind of passing volume. He's going to be that field-stretching wide receiver that possibly opens up space underneath for someone like Kenneth Walker to be able to run against less stacked boxes, and also for DK Metcalf, of course. Now, our next guy, Chuba Hubbard. I know people are going to be excited about Chuba Hubbard, but at the end of the day, it is a running back by committee in Carolina. While we said you had to sell Deontay Foreman a couple months back, while we said that you have had to be benching Deontay Foreman over and over and over again, even though Hook 'em Lawrence, I mean, the reason for this wasn't because I didn't think Foreman was a great running back. And all of a sudden, Chuba Hubbard's coming in. It's going to be a different spot where he's a better guy so we can get excited. No, at the end of the day, if you play on the Carolina Panthers and are running back by committee, you are not exciting. Please don't be wasting your roster spot. And then our next spot, speaking of committee running backs in horrible offenses, I hate to say it, but don't be picking up anybody in Houston. In Houston this past week, I mean, Dare ended up with the most snaps right next to Royce Freeman, 27 and 24. Rex Burkhead had 12. No running back here had 50% of the snaps in this backfield. It's a 3-man running back by committee. Do we want a 3-man running back by committee for the Houston Texans? Hell to the no, even if Houston's been better than expected over the past 2 weeks. Houston's horrible, and I am sorry that we are being very pessimistic in this video. I just want to make sure that you don't go to add any of those guys. And now, someone you can add, let's go position by position. At the running back position, you can add Tyler Algier. We actually had him on our waiver wire video a week ago because we were looking at the transition over to Desmond Ridder, saying, okay, maybe this is a team playing for 2023. They want to see what they have with Desmond Ridder, see what they have with Tyler Algier. I mean, they don't really have too many long-term plans here if we're going to be looking at Marcus Mariota, Cordell Patterson, who's about to be 31. And Tyler Algier had himself a day, has 17 carries, 139 rushing yards, gets targeted out of the backfield once, has the rushing touchdown. Now, while I think you should pick him up, I can't sit here and say he is some league-winning option. You still add Cordell Patterson splitting this backfield 50-50. Algier had 36 snaps compared to Cordell Patterson at 37. But right now, Algier's only rostered in about 37% of leagues. So, hell, I mean, I think that should go up to 100%, knowing that there are going to be some people desperate with a Jonathan Taylor injury. And obviously, I mean, there's just a lot of uncertainty. It would be nice to have a running back that you could go to in a pinch. And also, they could expand the role. You don't know. Now, going over to our next spot, Zach Moss is going to be the guy in Indianapolis that I'm going to be going with. Obviously, Indianapolis has a very bad offense, but the difference between Zach Moss and what we are going to be looking at with the running backs such as Chuba Hubbard, the Houston running backs, is this looks to be a 2-man running back by committee. When Jonathan Taylor went down, you had Zach Moss with 53 snaps compared to Deion Jackson at 25. You had Zach Moss with 24 carries 81 rushing yards. Now we know Zach Moss is a running back that has the size where he can obviously see 20 plus touches in a game. Main issue is going to be he's not a great pass catcher. And we talked about this over and over and over again after the Jonathan Taylor injury. But at this time, I do not have a Jonathan Taylor update. But if I am putting myself in the shoes of anybody associated to the Indianapolis Colts organization, why the hell would you ever bring Jonathan Taylor back? This is a lost season. This is a season where you're playing for a 2023 draft pick. This coaching staff's probably not going to be there next year. So if the coaching staff's not going to be there, you're playing for a 2023 draft pick. Are you really going to rush your young franchise running back from an ankle injury after he already dealt with one earlier this season? I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I don't have any updates at this time of Jonathan Taylor. But I mean, if I was Jonathan Taylor and I stubbed my pinky toe on the dining room table, I'm sitting out the rest of the season. Now going over to the wide receiver position, I owe everybody a massive apology. I did not have Zay Jones ranked inside our top 30 wide receivers this week. I did not tell many people at all to play Zay Jones. I definitely told more people to bench Zay Jones than to play Zay Jones. I apologize. I am sorry. That is 100% my fault. Zay Jones has been phenomenal over the past 5 weeks. Over the past 5 weeks, Zay Jones has had over 10 targets per game. Zay Jones has had more than 50 targets over the past 5 weeks. He's been very productive with that. This past week, 3 touchdowns. The week prior, another one. So 4 touchdowns over the past 2. So you're getting the volume, you're getting the efficiency, and Trevor Lawrence is quietly, or maybe not so quietly, turning into, I don't want to say an elite level quarterback, but pretty damn close to it. I don't know how many more Trevor Lawrence performances we have to see of this caliber before we start viewing him as a quarterback that has the potential to be someone like Joe Burrow. So I just really want to include Zay Jones. He is rostered in 55% of leagues here. I mainly need to be saying, I'm sorry, and that's it. Now, our next guy, KJ Osborne. I don't know if I wanted to include him in the do not add bucket or the must add. I didn't know if I wanted to include him ahead of Zay Jones or go with Noah Brown instead. We're putting him in the you can add him category. I'm not going to be as excited about it. He's rostered in 5% of leagues with KJ Osborne, 16 targets, 10 receptions, 157 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. If you drafted KJ Osborne in best ball, bravo. I wish I had more than maybe, I think we have about 6% of them. We've seen him have double-digit targets before. I would only really pick him up and get excited about it if it was a 14-team, 16-team league. Because remember, I mean, Kirk Cousins had all the passing volume in the world for KJ Osborne to have this type of performance. But going over to tight end, someone that's going to be very exciting, Juwan Johnson. I mean, with Johnson, he was a tight end that was productive and pretty damn good before the injury. This is only continuing to his first week back. He gives you 6 targets, 4 receptions, 67 receiving yards, and multiple receiving touchdowns. Now, I think it's unfair to look at the San Francisco 49ers game, the game where he gets hurt, the game where at the same time the Saints put up 0 points. I think we can take that one, throw it out the window, and that doesn't really take into account who Juwan Johnson really is. And if we go through and remove that game and look at his last, 6? He's had 7 touchdowns in the last 6. Pretty damn good. Now, what we do have to acknowledge is the fact that Taysom Hill is probably going to be vulturing some touchdowns inside the red zone for New Orleans here, which obviously is frustrating all around. And then going over to the quarterback position, if you had Kyler Murray and then you pivoted over to Tyler Huntley, and now we need to find a new option to pivot to. I want to make sure that we are giving some streaming opinions at quarterback, some streaming options at defense. I'm not giving you anything at kicker. Quarterback, I think that you could look to go ahead and play Brock Purdy. I mean, if we're going to be looking at the matchup against Washington, it's kind of whatever. I mean, the New York Giants just had a fine day, but specifically because the skill position group he has around him, he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's I don't necessarily want to say great in his own right. I think maybe a lot of it has to do with the situation where you're surrounded by CMC, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. So I think he will be a viable streaming option. And if we're going to go ahead, if we're going to be looking for a streaming option at defense, despite the Houston Texans having a good 2-week stretch here, I'm still going to continue to try to attack the Houston Texans. I would love to stream the Tennessee Titans. I mean, obviously the Titans don't have the best defense in the world. They just had a respectable showing, however, going up against, I would say, a much better Los Angeles Chargers team. I mean, if you wanted to go through and try to stream the Los Angeles Rams defense against Denver, you could do that as well. I know the Rams defense has been pretty bad this year, so I'm assuming maybe they've been dropped down to the waiver wire. But regardless, you should have a couple streaming options at the DST spot. I think that should be it for this video, though. If you enjoyed it, please go down there, drop a like. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And of course, in that comment section, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up for Underdog and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Available in damn near every state. I personally would be looking at the Christian Watson more than 48.5 receiving yards. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and hope we get to see you with the live stream tonight.